I worked 2 jobs to support my boyfriend through med school. The day he graduated, he said I wasn't wife material. Please stay with me while I tell the story. Because if I didn't live it, I wouldn't have believed it myself. And if you've ever poured into someone only to be emptied in return, then maybe this story is yours too. My name is Nia, and for 5 years I didn't live, I survived. For love. We met during orientation week. I was studying communications. He biology. His name was Derek, and he had this way of looking at you like the whole world slowed down. Like you were the only one who mattered. We started dating the second semester of my sophomore year. He came from a rough home, his dad disappeared early, and his mom worked 3 jobs to keep the lights on. So when Derek got into med school on partial scholarship, I celebrated like I had just been accepted myself. I remember holding his face in my hands and saying, "We'll make it. I promise." And I meant we, because I believed love was teamwork, sacrifice, support. So when he couldn't afford the move to Philadelphia, I dipped into my savings. When he needed to pay for books and licensing fees, I picked up a second job working nights at a diner, wiping grease off tables until my knees ached. I told myself it was temporary, that one day we'd look back on it and laugh from the porch of our dream home, drinking iced tea and watching our kids run barefoot on the grass. But reality didn't come with porch swings. It came with bounced checks, missed meals, and a loneliness so loud it echoed even when he called me baby girl. I was living in a shared basement apartment with 2 roommates. My mattress sat on the floor. My fridge had 3 things: almond milk, leftovers from the diner, and packets of electrolyte water. I worked 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the print shop, then 4 p.m. to midnight at the diner. I barely had time to breathe, let alone dream. But every time Derek called, I softened. "Babe, I passed my anatomy exam. I'm proud of you. Can you send $200 for my clinical supplies? I'll figure it out." And I always did. I sold clothes online, took surveys for pennies, missed birthdays, skipped dentist appointments. I told myself this was the grind before the glow. But here's the thing no one tells you. When someone lets you give them everything without asking what it's costing you, they were never planning to give anything back. The night I broke and didn't know it. I remember the exact night everything began to shift. Derek had called me at 11:47 p.m. I was on the bus, half asleep, with a throbbing headache from dehydration. "Hey babe," he said, breathless. "Can you send $350 by Friday?" "Derek, that's 2 shifts worth." I know, but it's for this conference. Big networking opportunity. Could land me a residency. I'll pay you back." He always said that. I hesitated. For the first time ever. "I'll try," I whispered. There was silence on the line. Then, "You've changed." I almost laughed. I had changed. From a hopeful girl to an exhausted woman with calluses on her palms and an overdraft warning on her phone. But I sent it anyway. I cried that night. Not because of the money, but because I realized how easy it was for him to ask. How normal my sacrifices had become in his eyes. Graduation day. 3 years later, Derek was standing tall in a navy cap and gown with gold tassels, a stethoscope draped over his shoulders like a king's robe. I was wearing a cheap pastel dress from a thrift store, standing in the 3rd row of the auditorium with a smile, too tired to reach my eyes. After the ceremony, his classmates hugged me. "You must be so proud. You were there for it all, huh?" I nodded, smiled, posed for pictures I'd later delete. Then Derek said, "Hey, let's grab dinner. Just us." I got us reservations. My heart fluttered. Was this the moment? The ring? Thank you? A fresh start? We arrived at a rooftop restaurant I'd only ever seen on Instagram. Candlelight, violin music, skyline view. It was perfect. He ordered wine. I ordered water. Then he leaned forward and said calmly, "I think we should take a break." I blinked. A break. He stirred his wine. "You've been great. Really. But I think we've grown apart. I'm going into a new phase of life, and honestly, I just don't think we're compatible anymore." My pulse thudded in my ears. "What do you mean now?" You're starting residency. We were supposed to. He waved a hand. You're great, Nia. But you're not wife material. You're too stuck in the struggle mindset. And I can't carry that into this next season. My whole body went still. I wasn't wife material. Me. The woman who washed his lab coats in a shared laundromat. Who skipped meals so he could eat. Who stayed on the phone with him through all-night panic attacks. You're joking, I whispered. He shook his head. I appreciate what you did. Really? I'll Venmo you something when I get my signing bonus. That's when I realized he never saw me as a partner. I was a bridge. And now that he'd crossed, he was burning it. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I stood, adjusted my thrifted dress, and walked out without saying another word. But that's not the end. That's where it begins. The undoing. I spent the next few days in a haze. I called in sick to work. Didn't eat. Didn't sleep. I just lay on the mattress, staring at the ceiling, asking myself what did I do wrong. But then something happened. My phone rang. It was Trina, Derek's classmate. We'd met once. She was always kind. Nia, I shouldn't be calling, but you need to know something. What? He's been seeing someone else. A residency coordinator at Jefferson. It's been going on for months. Silence. I'm sorry. I couldn't let you think it was your fault. I hung up. My hands were trembling. And for the first time in years, I saw myself clearly. Used. Discarded. Erased. But not destroyed. The plan. I didn't want revenge. I wanted clarity. Closure. And, if possible, justice. I started with the basics. I dug through my old emails and bank transfers. I calculated every dollar I'd sent him. It totaled over $28,000. I still had receipts, texts, even screenshots of him asking for money and promising to repay it. Then I called my cousin Layla, an up-and-coming attorney. She asked one question. Do you want to play nice? Or do you want to play smart? I chose smart. What Derek didn't realize was that when you let a communications major walk away in silence, she doesn't walk away defeated. She walks away documenting. Layla didn't waste time. She met me at a downtown cafe 2 days later with her laptop open and a determined fire in her eyes. Here's what we do, she said before I could even sit. He used you for 5 years, financially and emotionally. You have documentation. That's your power. But we weren't married, I whispered, suddenly unsure. Do I even have any legal ground? Layla smirked. You think laws are only about rings? Listen, he made repeated verbal and written agreements. The money you gave wasn't gifts. They were loans. You have timestamps, messages, deposits linked directly to his school and apartment. That's enforceable under small claims or civil court. And if it goes viral. She sipped her coffee. He might settle just to protect his image. Image. That word stuck with me. Because Derek wasn't just starting residency, he was becoming a public figure. The golden black doctor with a rags-to-riches story, the scholarship kid who made it out. He had posted a graduation speech on Instagram that was gaining traction. People were calling him inspirational. I watched the video, jaw clenched, as he said, there were people who helped me along the way, but at the end of the day, I got here because I never gave up on myself. Not a single mention of me, but the world would know soon. Layla advised I send a formal repayment request first, a chance to do things quietly. I drafted the email myself. Hi, Derek. Attached is a list of payments made to you between 2018 and 2023, totaling $28,437.91. As agreed in several messages and voice notes, these were temporary supports to be repaid upon your financial stabilization post-graduation. I am requesting reimbursement in full or a proposed payment plan within 14 business days. If I don't hear from you by then, I will pursue formal legal options. Regards, Nia M. I hesitated before hitting send. My finger hovered over the mouse, trembling slightly. But then I remembered the night I ate ramen while wiring him rent money. And I clicked. The fall of the image. Derek didn't reply, but he read it. I saw the read receipt light up 3 hours after I sent it. 2 days later, Layla got a cease and desist letter from a lawyer named Brent R. Goodwin, alleging defamation, harassment, and emotional distress.
I almost laughed.
You sent him an invoice, Layla said, eyes scanning the letter. He called it emotional abuse. Cute. But something about that letter didn't sit right. I Googled the firm, and that's when I saw it. Brent wasn't just Derek's lawyer. He was the husband of Monique Reynolds, the Jefferson residency coordinator Derek was sleeping with. Suddenly, it all clicked. This wasn't just about dodging me. It was about hiding her. Because if the relationship was exposed, she could lose her job. Conflict of interest. Favoritism. Ethics violations. That's why they were pushing back so hard. Not to protect Derek's wallet, but Monique's career. And I had just found their weakest link, the burn folder. Over the years, I had kept a shared Google Drive folder labeled D-School, short for Derek's med school docs. It had everything. Photos of his ID, copies of receipts I sent for his books, screenshots of Zelle transfers, a PDF of an apartment lease I co-signed, a voice notes of him saying, "Babe, I'll pay you back when I'm working, I swear." And the gem, a selfie of us with Monique, captioned, "The coordinator that saved my future." Taken over dinner. She looked way too close in that picture for a colleague. I renamed the folder, Repayment Evidence, Legal. Then I locked it with two-step verification. And then I wrote a second email, this time to Brent. "Dear Mr. Goodwin, I appreciate your response. As I believe you may have a personal connection to Ms. Monique Reynolds, whose contact details are attached, I want to ensure this matter is resolved before becoming unnecessarily public. Please be advised I am prepared to escalate this to civil court, media channels, and professional ethics boards should the repayment be refused. Best regards, Nia M. CC Layla and press at medwatch.net." Within 6 hours, Derek finally responded.
Nia.
"Are you serious? What the hell are you doing? We ended things like adults. You want to ruin me now?"
I didn't reply.
Layla simply said, "Good." He's rattled. The dinner trap. 2 days later, Derek asked to meet. Said he wanted to talk in person. Layla was against it, but I agreed, on one condition. Public place.
My time.
My terms. We met at a small cafe near my job. He was already seated, hands clasped like a repentant priest. "Nia, oh listen. I was wrong. You're right. I should have handled things better. I didn't mean to hurt you." I sat down calmly. "Then why did you?" I panicked. Monique was pressuring me. The program, there's a lot riding on this. So now she had a name in his mouth. "What do you want, Derek?" I asked flatly. He exhaled. "Let me pay you back in installments." Quietly. "Please, don't drag this into the open. I just started residency. If a scandal hits..." "You're worried about your name?" I asked. "I'm worried about losing everything I worked for." And for once, I was glad he said it. Because it proved something. He never worried about losing me. Only losing what he'd gained through me. "I'll have Layla draft a payment contract," I said, rising. "You can wire it monthly. If you miss one, we go public. Deal?" He nodded like a man facing execution. But it wasn't over yet. The twist. A week after we signed the repayment agreement, Layla called me at 11 p.m. "You sitting down?" "Why?" Monique filed an HR complaint against Derek. My eyes widened.
What?
Why? Apparently, she didn't know he was using her too. Someone, possibly anonymous, sent her screenshots of his dating app activity and a payment he made to a different woman in New York for a hotel room. The screenshots were clear. I stayed silent. "I didn't send anything," I said finally. Layla snorted. "I didn't say you did." But I didn't need to. Derek was imploding. And for once, it had nothing to do with me. 3 weeks passed. Derek made 2 payments, each on time, each labeled repayment, private, as if the word loan burned his pride. He didn't text me, didn't call, just sent money and silence. But the world around him wasn't quiet. Whispers started at Jefferson Hospital. Monique's HR complaint triggered an internal review. Word spread through staff Slack channels. Soon, Derek's name was paired with words like ethics, conflict, and suspension. I didn't say a word, because I didn't need to. Then came the message I never expected. A journalist named Tamira reached out. I run a podcast called Unheard Labor. We feature stories of invisible emotional and financial labor, especially in relationships. Someone shared a thread about you anonymously. Would you consider telling your story? At first, I said no. But that night, I sat on the floor, scrolling through comments on her page. I helped my ex through law school. He left me for his paralegal. My girlfriend lived in my apartment for free for 4 years. I didn't even get a goodbye note. Women do so much unpaid labor. This is a movement. I realized then, I wasn't alone, and silence had never protected me. It only prolonged the illusion. So I said yes. The podcast aired 2 weeks later under a pseudonym. Enem. I told the full truth. No names, just facts, emotions, receipts, lessons. Not to shame Derek, but to free myself. And to my surprise, it went viral. I started receiving messages from strangers. Women, men, nurses, teachers, bartenders, people who said, "You spoke what I never had the words to say." One message stood out. I'm a donor at a foundation that supports women restarting their lives after high-cost breakups. Would you be open to sharing more privately? I met the donor, Vanessa, 2 weeks later. She was elegant, with salt and pepper hair and fierce eyes. What you did took courage, she said. Would you consider leading a workshop for young women on emotional boundaries and financial self-worth? We'll pay you, of course. That was the moment everything shifted, not because of the money, but because someone finally saw me, not as a vessel for someone else's success, but as a source of my own. The final knock. Derek showed up at my doorstep 2 months after the podcast aired. I had just finished arranging tulips on my apartment's kitchen table, flowers I bought for myself. He looked thinner, eyes tired, confidence gone. Nia, he said, like the name still belonged to him. I crossed my arms. You're not supposed to be here. I needed to see you. Everything's falling apart. Monique transferred departments. HR's still investigating. My residency director said I might not be re-signed for next year. I lost my scholarship benefits. I'm barely sleeping. I didn't interrupt. And everyone thinks it's because of you. Now I spoke. And whose fault is that? He looked down. I know I hurt you, but you didn't have to expose me. I tilted my head. I didn't. You exposed yourself. I just stopped protecting you. He didn't speak after that. Just stood there, deflated. Then he said, "Was I ever enough for you?" The question stunned me, because it wasn't really a question. It was a mirror. No, I said softly. Not because you were broken, but because you never tried to grow with me. You took. And when I had nothing left to give, you blamed me for being empty. I closed the door. Slowly. Quietly. That was the last time I saw him. The rebirth. Today, I run a small but growing platform called The Emotional Ledger, a digital community for women who've given everything and are ready to take their lives back. I do speaking events. I teach workshops. I write essays. My story has been published in 3 journals. I even helped a woman sue her ex for misusing a joint account during their relationship and win. Sometimes I still think about Derek, but not with anger, with clarity. He was a storm, and I was the anchor that held him steady until he could swim. But once he reached shore, he let go. And that's okay, because now I swim for myself. I no longer work 2 jobs. I sleep 8 hours a night. I buy flowers for myself. I invest in my own retirement account. I eat slowly. I smile at my reflection. And once a week, I sit at a little cafe with a blue notebook. I write new chapters, memoirs, dreams, goals. Because for 5 years, I wrote my life around someone else's future. But now, I'm the author. And this chapter is called Wife Material Doesn't Wait to Be Chosen. She chooses herself. If this story moved you, please like, comment, and share your own story below. You never know who needs to feel seen. And don't forget to subscribe. Your support keeps stories like mine alive. Thank you for listening.